Hello and welcome back to India on 99.94. I'm your host, Nikesh Rugani, BBC and SEN commentator, and my co-host alongside, as always, Sarah Waris of Wisden. And today we're going to be discussing Shikhar Dhawan. Bit of a blast from the past in terms of being in India's first 11 across all three formats, but still very much a member of India's ODI team. So we'll be discussing the merits of having him in there, not only as a skipper for the younger generation, but is he worth his place in the side as an opener ahead of the 2023 World Cup? Because even when India's big guns are back, Shikhar Dhawan always seems to find a way back into the ODI setup. And just before we get cracking, a reminder that you can listen to us via your usual podcast provider. You can also watch us on YouTube and download the 99.94 app. We're going to be with you several times each week discussing all things Indian cricket. So do join that conversation. So Sarah, Shikhar Dhawan then. We all love him, don't we? I mean, he's a lovable character. He never seems to rub anyone up the wrong way, plays cricket in the right spirit, has been very successful for India on the biggest stage. His ICC record is fantastic in white ball tournaments. But is he worth his place in the side at the moment? They've got an obsession with him, haven't they, the Indian selectors? But let's go through his stats then. Yeah. Well, you tell us first and foremost, actually, just while I pull up his stats, why you think they keep going back to him.
Probably, he's the experienced player. He's not in the T20I plan. So he's the experienced player who's around, all these youngsters like Gill and all. And he captains them. They need someone of that experience to, ease the likes of Sanju Samson and the Gills into international cricket. So I think he's serving that purpose right now to just ease the youngsters into international cricket and be the head, so to say. And he choreographs them in the dance reels also. So that's fun to watch.
That's probably what it's about more than anything, isn't it? Just him and taking all these youngsters under his wings. And he's got some pretty good moves as Shikhar. I think some of the youngsters need to...
There was one, he got Rahul Dravid in one reel also. So,
I mean, to do that is quite some achievement, actually. So he might be worth his place in the side just because of that. But look, he's 36. He'll be 37 by the time the next World Cup comes about, the ODI World Cup. He's been around for some time, and as I say, he's got a great record in ICC tournaments. He's got a good record across Test cricket as well. He averages over 40. He's played 34 Tests. He's played 161 ODIs, and he's scored well over 6,500 runs, average of over 48. 17 ODI hundreds as well. So you look at the stats on the face of it, and his overall career strike rate, by the way, 91.78 as well. So everything suggests that he's been a brilliant ODI cricketer. But, Sarah, you've been looking specifically at his strike rate in the last 12 months, and that is an area of concern, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, not the last 12 months, 2022 specifically. He has a strike rate of 74.60 this year. And in the power play, he has a strike rate of 69, which, to me, with how ODI cricket has changed and, just how teams are batting more aggressively, especially up front, is just not good enough. And what's even more interesting is that he had a strike rate of well over 91 last year. So, closing to 92. So, just a sudden drop in form, and he's not even got the big runs consistently. He's not had a century since the 2019 World Cup. So, he's got a few 90s. He has 96, 98 and 97. So, unlucky there. But, if he's there, he's played 16 ODIs this year and an average of 40, which is his lowest in the last 3 years, and a strike rate of 74. Somehow, his reflexes are not what India would want it to be. And with so many youngsters coming up, it's almost like, does he deserve the place in the 2023 World Cup?
Well, part of it is the partnership, isn't it? And we always talk about partnerships in cricket, whether you're opening the batting or opening the bowling in some regards, or even, spin twins we talk about quite often and things like that. And partnerships are crucial in cricket, and there's not many more successful than Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan at the top of the order in ODI history. Really, they've got the fourth highest partnership in terms of runs scored across an entire career, from 2013 when they first came together in that Champions Trophy year, and right up until the present day. So they've played 114 innings together, 5,125 runs. And it's not just that, it's the average as well, isn't it? 45.75. So really, really good. Not quite as good as those above them, but they're just behind Greenwich and Haynes in terms of runs as well. And they've played a few more matches together, but not that many. So just 25 runs in that. So they'll soon overtake them if they play another couple of matches at least. And then it's the Tendulkar Ganguly right at the top of the tree, and Gilchrist and Hayden. So they're in pretty good company there at the top of the tree. They've got the lowest average partnership out of those, but only by sort of 3 runs below Gilchrist and Hayden as well. So really respectable throughout their entire career. And maybe Rohit, just as a captain, as an opener as well, just likes having that security of having Shikhar Dhawan at the other end. Do you think that's got anything to do with it? The fact that they've been together so long, they've been so successful for so many years, and it's just that sort of that trust that you have in your opening partner is more important than perhaps we realize.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But then again, he's batted decent, like a long time with KL Rahul also. So why not have KL Rahul up the order instead? Because if realistically, if Dhawan plays, KL Rahul will bat at number 4 or 5, which means that there will be no place for Gill in the team, and secondly, there might not be a place for Iyer in the team also. Sanju Samson, anyway, as much as we want, I don't see him making the cut. So because then there'll be Sky there, there'll be Hardik Pandya there. So I don't see a place for Shreyas Iyer or Gill if Shikhar Dhawan is playing. So, these two they've shown what they can do across different conditions, and, just their technique and everything. So it's worth asking. Just because Rohit feels secure with Dhawan, he's not going to play after the T20, after the World Cup next year. So why just have him for one event, and why not give Gill a go? The World Cup will be in India, so just push Gill into it and just throw him into the pressure situation, and he's going to learn so much, and it's the way forward. Why just keep on sticking to something which has worked but might not benefit you in the long run? So that's what I believe. And one more
Yeah.
interesting stat I pulled up was Shikhar Dhawan this year has the lowest strike rate amongst all India players who've made at least 175 runs, which he scored 567 runs. Yeah, okay, he's got the runs, but his strike rate is only Prasidh Krishna, Bhuvi, Yuzvendra Chahal, and all these Bumrah, Kuldeep Yadav, Siraj, they have a lower strike rate than him. So yeah, Kohli is on the list. Kohli has a strike rate of 74.46, but that was before.
He's back in form now, isn't he?
He came back. Yeah, he's back in form.
So we'll allow him that.
Yeah.
Right, you mentioned some replacements there. We'll discuss those in a few moments after we take a short break.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So then, Shubman Gill, you mentioned there as a possible replacement for Shikhar Dhawan if he was to be dropped from the ODI setup. I really like Shubman Gill, and you're right. He's not just one for the future. He's one for now. He's a man in form. He's a
Yeah.
man who's built up quite a bit of experience in the last couple of years in those India colours, and deserves his place, I think, at the top of the order. The only thing is, though, Sarah, is there a slight worry that heading into a big tournament like that, you can do well in these bilateral series, and India as a team have shown that in recent times, haven't they? Doing well in these bilateral white ball series, really well actually, whether it's T20, ODIs, winning everywhere, winning against everyone. Then when it comes to the big stage and these big tournaments, it's a different type of pressure, isn't it? And do you need that man with the experience like Shikhar Dhawan there to be able to handle that pressure in those situations? Because look, in ODI cricket, in bilateral series, you're going to see 300 plus scores scored regularly these days, albeit we didn't see that much of it in the India-South Africa series. But generally, you will see a lot of that. But when it comes to tournaments, you tend to see a lot of 250s because of all the pressure. And given that, is somebody like a Shikhar Dhawan more of a valuable weapon for you at the top of the order than somebody like a Shubman Gill or even a KL Rahul who hasn't opened as much in ODI cricket?
So obviously after the T20 World Cup, the focus is going to be on the ODI World Cup. So, why not throw these players then and give them a chance to open more consistently and in different conditions? And you spoke of experience. The thing is, yeah, obviously it's a major factor. But if the World Cup was in England or say South Africa or Australia or New Zealand, the experience would have mattered more, in the sense Gill has played all of his cricket in India, so he knows how to go about it. He has played in the IPL, he's played various tournaments. So, the conditions will be in India, and yeah, it's just, if it was abroad or in Australia and England, yeah, you would have had Dhawan, and I wouldn't have like argued that. But it's going to be in India, so yeah, I do get your point. But then again, it's going to be in India, and Gill is someone who's shown that he can do so well in different conditions. So why not give him a chance to do well in India also? Because it's almost like holding India back from going into the future, and just for one event, and then you are like, okay, we are discarding Dhawan, because Dhawan is realistically not going to play after the World Cup. So it's just that, why are you keeping him just for that one tournament? So
Yeah.
Or they can easily rest him, like how they rested him for the T20 World Cup last year. They can easily just rest him.
Yeah, I think at his age, I don't think that will go down very well, and that will signal the end, won't it? But the fact that he's in the side now doesn't necessarily suggest that he's going to be in the World Cup, because it's basically a B team. But I think the fact that he was playing the ODIs when they did have all the big boys playing in England, for example, I think that does suggest that he is very much a part of the plans, and he will be in that squad for the 2023 World Cup. Here's another question. Do you just take him and maybe not start with him, and then if you get an injury, he can step in? Reserve opener.
I don't think that's happening. Indian cricket has not worked that way. They just throw these senior players in. If you pick a senior player, you play them. Otherwise, you rest them, like Chetan Sharma said. Like you rest Dhawan and you rest Chahal. That's what Chetan Sharma said in the World Cup last year.
It's not like England, where they can rest people like Anderson and Broad, right? Even when they're in the squad as well, that rotation policy. It doesn't seem to be a thing, does it? And I mean, Australia do it as well with their quick bowlers in particular. At times, when they deem necessary, and when they deem that they need to be given a rest, or they just need to go in with a different combination sometimes. I mean, Mitchell Stark's been dropped several times in his career, and what a fine bowler he is. So, yeah, it just doesn't seem that the Indian selectors have got the guts, really, in a way, to say this to the senior players. And that's a big problem in Indian cricket, and it's gone back
The
years and
star
decades.
culture.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
star culture. Like, God bless him, Sachin Tendulkar, in the last year and a half of his international career, there wasn't any point in him playing into. I love the guy. He's my hero.
Yeah.
I worship that guy. But even for me, the last year and a half of watching him in international cricket, sort of post the 2011 World Cup, really, he did okay in the series in England, and he'd had some half-century scores, and that long wait till the 100th hundred in against Bangladesh in that losing cause, and look, there were a few moments, but it just went on too long, and okay, Shikhar Dhawan's not of the same ilk as Sachin Tendulkar, but it's just nobody could tell Sachin at that time that, look, I think your time's up. I think they owed it to him just to let him make his own decision up. But even those close to him, his friends and, the Ganggulis of this world, or even forget teammates and friends, his family, and, somebody should have said something earlier, I feel. And maybe they did, maybe he just didn't listen, but surely somebody has got to tell some of these senior players at some point when they're not worth their place in the side that, look, I'm sorry, time's up. We're thinking about making a change. You might want to start thinking about retiring if that's something you want to do. If not, then you face being dropped. So give them the choice. Let them go out on their own
One point
terms
to add.
in the eyes of the world. But someone's got to have a word, haven't they, with these senior guys sometimes?
Yeah, another example, like I was just discussing this. Dhoni, I personally feel he should have retired at least from T20Is after the 2016 World Cup. He ended with a career strike rate of 126, which I know I'm going to get a lot of criticism for this. I have received a lot of hate for going after Dhoni in the past, like a lot of hate. But, for a finisher to have a strike rate of 126, it's just, it's not good enough. And I remember that press conference that, during the 2016 World Cup, one journalist asked him about his future plans, and Dhoni just replied with, "Am I not fit? So, if I'm fit, I can carry on." That's not really the criteria, so fit. Sachin at 50 or whatever his age is, he is fit too, but that doesn't mean that you can carry on. So that answer had seemed so absurd even then. And yeah, with Dhawan, the thing is, his direct competitor right now I see is Gill. So Gill, the fact that he has a strike rate of 107 in ODIs this year, and he's not far behind in runs also. He scored 530 runs, and Dhawan has scored 567 runs. So, just the fact that the strike rate is almost 30 or 40 more makes a lot of difference. So, I just hope that they, have a look at Gill and not just consider him as a backup opener, because I have a feeling that's what they're going to do. But yeah, as you said, someone should possibly have a word with him and not just say that he is rested for the World Cup if it comes to that.
Yeah, look, we hope there's a lot of cricket to be played between now and then, and we hope he finds his form, and it'll be great to see if India do have that success in that home World Cup. Once again, somebody like a Shikhar Dhawan, who's given so much to Indian cricket over the years, just finding some form and playing well and contributing to that cause in that World Cup. That would be the fairy tale, wouldn't it, for a lot of Indian cricket fans, a lot of Shikhar Dhawan fans, and for the man himself and his family as well. So that's the ideal scenario. But again, it's if somebody like a Shubman Gill is playing better, he could be perhaps robbed of an opportunity to open the innings at a home World Cup as well. So you've got to look at both sides of it, and just let's see what the selectors do. We don't know what goes through their minds half of the time, but it's an interesting one with Shikhar Dhawan. We're going to take another short break here, and on the other side, we'll discuss some of the other young openers coming through in Indian cricket.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So, Sarah, we mentioned Shubman Gill, the obvious replacement for Shikhar Dhawan, but there are other options, aren't there, as well? I mean, you mentioned KL Rahul, possibly at the top of the order, and Prithvi Shaw. We did an entire episode on Prithvi Shaw. Where is he? Nowhere in the reckoning. Keeps scoring runs domestically.
No one knows, yeah.
Strike rate is always really good. Is fitness an issue? Is it just attitude? What is it?
Probably, I think right now it's off-field issues. I think they've just turned their backs on him after he was involved in that dope. He was banned for a few months by the BCCI, and just there have been incidents in domestic cricket where his state team have pulled him up for these disciplinary things and all. So I just think. It's that because he was ahead of Gill in the pecking order, like by a far margin. So, yeah, there has to be something. I don't think it's a cricketing reason to keep him out, especially from the B team also consistently. So, yeah, I think something non-cricketing, I think, is the issue.
Yeah, well, if he can sort those issues out off the field and just focus on his cricket and get his head down, he's got to be he might even jump the queue ahead of Gill in terms of talent and just raw ability and strike rate and all those kinds of things. He really did have that wow factor when he burst onto the scene as both a youngster in Shield cricket, locally, Harris Shield in Mumbai, the schools competition, where he was breaking records, and then made his professional debut and scoring 100 on his test debut as well. Just a fantastic start to his career, comparisons with Sachin from such a young age. And, he's kind of not taken the turn we would have expected, but hopefully he can get back on track. Him aside, though, there's a whole host, aren't there? Ruturaj Gaikwad, there's Badikal, Venkatesh Iyer could bat in the top three.
He picked up 6 wickets yesterday
exactly.
also.
And he can bowl as well.
62.
And he got half century, 6 wickets. So there's a lot of talent. And that's actually, the Venkatesh Iyer thing is interesting because we keep going on about there's nobody really in that top 6 of the India lineup who can bowl or does bowl anymore.
Yeah.
He can. So they could do with somebody like that. Not necessarily right now, maybe, in the next year, 2 years, whatever it might be. But there's a lot of talent coming through. And the point I'm trying to make here is that even somebody like a Shubman Gill, if he gets kept out of the ODI...
Ishan Kishan.
Yeah, Ishan Kishan. We talk about him as a T20 cricketer, but he can play up the top of the order in ODIs quite easily. Look, India started that trend with Sehwag and people like that at the top. And, Ganguly used to give it some as well at the top. And Sachin used to just do what Sachin does. So we've always had attacking players at the top of the order and, players who take the game by the scruff of the neck, even in ODI cricket. So why not? I mean, there's a lot of options, and the problem for somebody like a Shubman Gill could be, I know he's young still, but if Shikhar Dhawan then takes the place, opening the innings at the next World Cup, 2023, he's got to wait another 4 years for his chance at a World Cup. And let's face it, ODI cricket is pretty boring aside from World Cup years, isn't it, at the moment? Look, there's so much T20 cricket. It just seems as though there's no need for as much bilateral ODIs outside of World Cups. I don't know if everyone feels that way. I kind of feel that way. Maybe just have a few bilaterals through the year. I know they've got the Super League and all that kind of stuff, the qualification for the World Cup, but surely there's a better way to do that and just have less bilateral ODI cricket. If that does happen in the next cycle, then you're going to see somebody like a Shubman Gill perhaps just waste the best years of his career, and then you've got the next guy coming along and the next guy, and there's just a conveyor belt of talent coming through. It's kind of like, it feels like
There's
now is
Yash
the time.
Dhul and Yeah, there are people like Yash Dhul and all. Like there are
Yeah.
so many from the under 19 team coming up. So yeah, the talent is so much, but it's unfortunate that they're just 11 places up for grabs. Thankfully now there are 2-3 teams which play for India, so we get to see more of these players in international cricket. But yeah, it's unfortunate for them also, just going. And yeah, it's just
Yeah, well,
unfortunate that yeah.
Shikhar Dhawan, if you're listening, we love you, but we've just got to ask the questions. We've got to put it out there. So best of luck to all of those boys who are in the mix for the 2023 World Cup. That's all we've got time for on this episode. Thank you very much for listening. Remember to rate and subscribe us, and join us next time.